Good morning. Welcome to Shawnee Mission Unitarian Universalist Church.
Good morning. Welcome to our first ever live streamed worship service. We chose to move to live stream because we are proactively ensuring the health of you and the other hundreds of people who gather here each Sunday for our hour of Sabbath. Even though we can't be together face to face during this time, our relationships aren't changed by distance. Our community is still strong, made stronger by moments like this. Please feel free to comment in the comment section of the page that you are viewing. And because this is a virtual format, you can say your joy or sorrow at any time. After this service, we will welcome your feedback to help us better serve you. And please encourage your children to join the religious education Zoom call that's happening right now so that they can spend time with their community as well. From this point forward, we as a church will be over-communicating as much as possible via the website, the Facebook page, and our church database realm. Please keep your eyes open for information or chances to touch base. Now, to prepare for worship today, I invite you to please get a pen and paper because we are still in our month of writing practice. While you do that, I am going to read you a short reading from Reverend Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone.
Each month, we as a community take time to reflect on a theme. The theme for March is wisdom. As I reflected on this, an image came to mind. That image sprang from the anti-penultimate scene of the 1939 film, The Wizard of Oz, and its penultimate scene. In the first scene, the pilgrims each get their wish. The Scarecrow gets his brains, the Tin Man gets his heart, the Lion gets his courage. As a kid, I figured it was the Scarecrow who got wisdom. But if you remember the scene, what the Scarecrow begins spouting once he's been given his diploma is a bunch of unrelated bits of knowledge, such as the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the other two sides. As I've gotten older, it's been the Tin Man and his moment in the penultimate scene, though, that strikes me as better reflecting wisdom. When the Tin Man realizes that Dorothy Gale is going home to Kansas, he tears up and notes, "Now I know I've got a heart, because it's breaking." No technobabble, no unrelated bits of knowledge, but a central truth of the human experience, deeply felt, spoken directly. That truth, known to Buddhists and to the Irish alike, is that there are tears at the heart of things. Come, let us worship together. Our opening hymn is "Wake."
We will now light the chalice.
Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity and fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another.
This is the time in our service where we expand the love of our community, where we draw to heart and mind those in our midst who are suffering and those who feel the sweet relief of their burdens easing. Today we think of everyone the world over who is facing anxious times. We bring to heart and mind all who are dealing with worries and anxieties, and everyone whose medical conditions are coming ever more so into focus. We think of the elderly. We think of those who don't have health insurance. We are so grateful to all leaders and scientists who have been proactive about the sharing of information, and for all who have stepped up to make sure that the vulnerable have supplies and comfort. Thank you for everyone who is keeping a positive attitude. Thank you to you for tuning in. We give our love to those untangling themselves from relationships that no longer serve them. We grieve for the loss of energy and time that chronic illness takes on the body and mind. And our hearts go out to all who are struggling to make ends meet. We extend our gratitude to people who make caring for children their primary spiritual practice, and we join in wonder with all who are bravely facing their final days. And as always, we rejoice over the exquisite beauty of this world, no matter how small or life-changing as each piece of beauty might be. And now, because this is a virtual forum, you are welcome to type your joy or your sorrow into the live chat. We will have a moment of silence followed by lighting of all of our candles. Please join me for a moment of silence, followed by spoken word. Center yourself, make yourself comfortable, turning your home into a little sanctuary, if only for a moment. Find yourself deepening your breath. This is a time to feel, to sense, to cry, to feel connected. Spirit of resiliency, hold our bonds strong. Make us one and show us that we are stronger than we think we are. Show us that we are not breakable. Spirit of resiliency, Spirit of resiliency, be in our every conversation as we hold each other up, in our every willingness to try new things, and in our endless positivity as we pour our love out onto each other, more profound and liberal now than ever before. Blessed be, and amen. You are now invited to get your pencil and your paper, and I am going to give you a short writing prompt, and we will write on it for 2 minutes, but we welcome you to spend a lot of this time writing. You can write your own prompts. Your writing prompt is, when I think of something I lost, I find ... When I think of something I lost, comma, I find ... Thank you. And now we have our preacher, Bernie Norcott-Mahany, who will do our first reading.
This is a poem by Shawnee, St. Kevin and the Blackbird. And then there was St. Kevin and the Blackbird. The saint is kneeling, his arms stretched out inside his cell, but his cell is narrow. So one turned-up palm is out the window, stiff as a crossbeam when a blackbird lands and lays in it and settles down to nest. Kevin feels the warm eggs, the small breast, the tucked, neat head and claws, and finding himself linked into the network of eternal life, is moved to pity. Now he must hold his hand like a branch out in the sun and rain for weeks until the young are hatched and fledged and flown. And since the whole thing's imagined anyhow, imagine being Kevin. Which is he? self-forgetful, or in agony all the time from the neck on out down through his hurting forearms? Are his fingers sleeping? Does he still feel his knees? Or has the shut-eyed blank of under-earth crept up through him? Is there distance in his head, alone and mirrored clear in love's deep river? To labor and not to seek reward, he prays, a prayer his body makes entirely, for he has forgotten self, forgotten bird, and on the riverbank, forgotten the river's name.
This is from the speech at the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick Dinner, Scranton, Pennsylvania, March 17th, 1964, by Bobby Kennedy. I like to think, as President Kennedy did, that the emerald thread runs into the cloth you weave today, that these policies in which he believes so strongly and which President Johnson is advancing are the current flowering of the Irish tradition. They are directed toward freedom for all Americans here and for all peoples throughout the world. And I like to think that these policies will survive and continue as the cause of Irish freedom survived the death of the liberator, Owen Roe O'Neill. As you will recall, O'Neill was one of the great figures of Irish history. It was of the period after his death when the entire Irish nation was overwhelmed with grief that the following lines were written. Sagest in the council was he, kindest in the hall. Sure, we never won a battle, 'twas Owen won them all. Soft as a woman's was your voice, O'Neill, bright was your eye. Oh, why did you leave us, Owen? Why did you die? Your troubles are all over, you're at rest with God on high. But we're slaves and we're orphans, Owen. Why did you die? We're sheep without a shepherd when the snow shuts out the sky. Oh, why did you leave us, Owen? Why did you die? So on this St. Patrick's evening, let me urge you one final time to recall the heritage of the Irish. Let us hold out our hands to those who struggle for freedom today, at home and abroad, as Ireland struggled for 1,000 years. Let us not leave them to be sheep without a shepherd when the snow shuts out the sky. Let us show them that we have not forgotten the constancy and the faith and the hope of the Irish.
There's no point in being Irish if you don't know that the world is going to break your heart eventually. I guess we thought we had a little more time. Those words of Daniel Patrick Moynihan, uttered after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, have served me as a Celtic mantra for my entire adult life. When I first heard those words in college, I felt a profound aha, as a personal truth I had long felt was put into words and given voice. For the Irish are a melancholy people, well versed in the sadness of life. The history of Ireland and of the Irish people is a long history of sadness and disappointment. Defeat at the hands of their less than neighborly neighbors, the British, and a long history of official colonial policy aimed at rooting out Irish culture and Irish language. The language policy almost succeeded, to the extent that almost no Irish child was taught the Gaelic language from birth in the 20th century. Irish Gaelic was on the brink of becoming a dead language, just like Latin. The good news is that Irish Gaelic no longer needs the last rites, but has been resurrected. According to some accounts, the Irish were forbidden to dance by official British policy. The good news is that the Irish developed their own peculiar form of dance, where the upper half of the body remains ramrod stiff, while the lower half could get all funky. To people looking in from the street, where only the top half could be seen, it appeared there was no dancing going on. The Irish who adopted the Anglican version of Christianity were given preference in employment and position, so that the Irish Catholic population, which was the majority, was mired in poverty. And in the 1840s, the land itself turned against the Irish peasant when a blight destroyed the potato crop, taking away the cheap food that had served as a staple of the Irish diet. Only in this century has the population of Ireland returned to the numbers, and more than the numbers, that there had been before the potato famine. Against that backdrop, it is no wonder that the Irish might develop a melancholy way of looking at things. Those years of sustained attacks, some quite persistent, on the Irish identity would only enhance the sense of the evanescence of life in the Irish heart and mind, a sense, I believe, that was always there. Years of oppression, unrelenting attacks on them, sickness and death, all of that takes a toll. And then the forced migration of a large part of the population, necessary to save lives, tore a hole in the Irish fabric. Friends and family who migrated to America left for a better life, for a chance for themselves and for those who would come after. But their departure felt like a death in the family on both sides of the Atlantic. When they got to America, the Irish did not find a kind welcome. Many who needed work found signs stating, "No Irish need apply." In the Boston I grew up in, this attitude towards the Irish lingered into the 20th century. And though the American Unitarian Association did not endorse such prejudice, many of the upper-class WASPs of Boston, some of them Unitarian, certainly held such views and adopted such positions. But though they deeply feel the evanescence of life and feel the pain that comes with that feeling, there are tears at the heart of things. That does not mean that the Irish are willing to give up, lie down, and die. No, the Irish love life, but life is not forever, nor is it forever fixed. Kids grow up, people move on, people and animals and even plants we love die. And so the joy we feel is always tempered by a sense of melancholy. Conversely, that melancholy is offset by a strong sense of the interconnectedness of things, something you see in those beautiful Celtic knot patterns in the illuminations in the Book of Kells and the Lindisfarne Gospels. The interdependent web is always changing, it's always moving on, but it's also always there. Haney's poem, St. Kevin and the Blackbird, suggests that St. Kevin felt that interconnectedness of all existence, sometimes quite painfully. When the blackbird chose to make her nest in his outstretched palm, and he felt its living warmth, he felt pity, and was moved to endure all his pain in the furtherance of life. He was deeply aware of the interconnectedness of things, not only of his connection to the bird and to its young. He also felt the ground rooting him as if he were some great oak. For us all, I think, and for me certainly, There are moments when I feel that sort of oneness with this world and the universe. It happened this morning as I lingered long in that state, not quite sleeping, not quite waking. But in my waking life, when I'm not feeling that union, but feel so alone, I feel a certain pain. Kevin, though, felt a powerful ache in union. He endured the pain of kneeling on stone, his arm locked, even as he felt a oneness with the blackbird. And then, one day, the birds were hatched and fledged and flown. Oh, there must have been a great sense of relief to all of Kevin's muscles, but still there was a sadness of endings. I'm thinking, Mama Bird and the chicks, gone. It is that sense of loss that Robert Kennedy alludes to in the closing of his speech to the loyal sons of St. Patrick of Lackawanna County. Like a bard, Kennedy invokes the figure of Owen O'Neill, the liberator, and how the Irish felt lost without him. Why did you leave us, Owen? Why did you die? Invoking O'Neill, Kennedy also brought to mind his own dear brother John, not yet 4 months dead when Kennedy made this speech. Certainly, John was very much on Bobby's mind and on the mind of every person in that room who might well have lamented, "Johnny, we hardly knew you. We thought we had more time." There are tears at the heart of things, to be sure. But what do you do with all that pain and sorrow, the tears at the heart of things? As things get better, it becomes easy to forget that pain and that sorrow. Let's not quite do that yet. Worse still, when our lives get better, we might think no longer of those who are still suffering. When the Irish became powerful in Boston, a city that once had snubbed them, it was too easy for the Irish to look to their powerful new friends and display the same kind of prejudice to others that they once had faced. That's something that Bobby Kennedy advised the Irish community of Scranton, no liberal bastion today or then, not to do. In remembering our losses, our sorrows, the snubs suffered at the hands of others, he invites them to see that long and ongoing fight of the Irish for liberty in the context of all people yearning to be free. In conservative Lackawanna County, on that St. Patrick's Day long ago, he was calling upon the custom that on St. Patrick's Day, everyone is Irish. And his loyal sons of St. Patrick, they must see the suffering and struggles of others and empathize with them. It was a great and loving message for them to receive and remains so for us today. Let us not see only our troubles and our struggles. Let us be aware of the troubles and struggles of others, and let us hold them in our hearts, or like St. Kevin and the blackbird, our arms outstretched in prayer, touching and upholding life. Let us not join the oppressor because we no longer see signs that say no Irish need apply. Rather, let us make common cause with the downtrodden, and as the song tells us, take not for granted a privileged place. We may feel abandoned at times. Why did you leave us, Owen? Or John? Or Bobby? Or Martin? Let us remember that feeling so that we do not abandon others, but we can be aware of others as brothers and sisters and work together toward justice and freedom. The work of this church depends on us. It depends on our generosity of time, wisdom, financial resources. We invite you to give generously to support the ongoing work of this church. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared values. Today, please look to the link below the image that you are looking at, or text SMUUCH to 73256. I'll repeat, please look to the link below the image that you're looking at, or text SMUUCH to 73256. Thank you.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please join us as you are able for our closing hymn, number 121, We'll Build a Land.
It feels strange, I know, to be apart as we do this service together. We do what we must for our health and for the health of our loved ones, and we should. Love should always direct our actions. It has become common in the benediction to invite the congregation to undertake a task in the coming week. So here goes. The COVID-19 has temporarily disrupted the normal way of doing things here and in our lives. That is annoying, that is frustrating, that is painful. I invite you to patiently endure this disruption. Stuck in pause, take a moment. Use this chance to reflect on community, to imagine the beloved community we want here at our church and in our communities beyond these walls and beyond all walls, and to find creative ways to connect with one another. Let us linger in this strange, hazy moment before a new day dawns and take the lessons our heart is teaching us to make a better world. Blessed be.